Oh, this dude, man, you picked some. Jeez.
Oh man, I low key feel bad for Tyrese. I do.
No.
Tyrese seems to either be 0 to 100. Like there's no in between with him.
No.
He's either good and enjoying life and having a great career and a great personal life, or his situation is in complete and utter turmoil. There seems to be no in between with him. But this latest saga involving Tyrese um, is a situation in which he is facing backlash because he says that sometimes he wished that he was born Latino.
Oh,
So we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and talk about this. Interesting comments made by Tyrese, who at this point is undoubtedly a friend of the channel. I don't think that is, I don't even think
for
that that's a,
sure. For
yeah,
sure.
that is not a discussion. Tyrese Gibson is most certainly a friend of the channel.
He been here
So this
more than
article,
Fast and Furious movies. So he's featured more here. So yeah, he's definitely a friend, man.
yeah. So this says Tyrese faces backlash for saying he wishes he was born Latino.
Oh, jeez.
Tyrese Gibson has sparked outrage amongst his fans after saying he wishes he was born Latino. Gibson argued that the Latin community is grounded in family, loyal entrepreneurs, businessmen, and women literally represent the dream. The
Oh,
grind and hustle, doing whatever it takes to stick together despite the odds. Furthermore, it feels as though Tyrese has once again lamented about the breakdown of his marriage last year. As mentioned, fans were not having this. Quote, it's Black History Month. Use your black lips and do us all a favor and shut up. Thanks. One one
wow.
person wrote. Quote, sometimes I wish black folks actually went to see the hardworking black people and families all over the country. So many of us are not in LA or Hollywood or highlighted on social media. Added another. So now this is a video that Tyrese posted. Obviously, link to this description is going to, a link to this article is in the description of this video. Y'all can play that for yourselves. I'm not going to play the video, but I will read his post here.
Mm.
So it says, sometimes I wish I was born Latino. I mean, the Latin community is grounded in family, loyal entrepreneurs, businessmen, and women literally represent the dream, the grind, the hustle, doing whatever it takes to stick together against all odds. If us is black culture, I think he meant if us in black culture was more grounded in these in integral magical nuances of us, we would be dominant. I've learned a lot from the Jewish community sticking together, eating dinner every Friday together. I've learned a lot about the Muslim community throughout all my travels in the Middle East. They have a farther structure where they honor their fathers. The Middle East, the thinking and the mentality is that they would much rather have a son over a daughter because they know that there is nothing like the leadership of a father and a man being the head of the household. I have
Oh,
no idea how we lost our way. We can't get anything done and accomplished as a fragmented culture, insecure, threatened by each other, competitive towards our own race, killing ourselves every single day frivolously. The majority of us is black men, and the millions are locked up in prison. Of course, we are beyond grateful, influential, and successful, but imagine if we all linked up like other communities have linked, poured and built up on each other instead of moving like fragmented and dysfunctional. We have what it takes to take over the world. We are nothing trying to do it alone. Please chime in. Would love to know your thoughts on this. Some of these people need to run their post by a copy editor
boy.
before they hit send. You know, I'm not the grammar police, but come on, man, we got to do a little better than that. Jesus. The article goes on to say, as mentioned, Tyrese has been struggling to overcome the breakdown of his marriage last year. He explosively responded to the interview his ex wife gave to Joe Budden in November. She wants to be famous. She wants the clout. She had a whole baby and faked a whole marriage to get the bag. Three law firms, 3 law firms later, just hear just hear her out, guys, please. Zelly and I are over here decorating this tree and trying to take advantage of these Cyber Monday sales to come. Swipe left and just know whoever this person is, she hates my guts, and yet her driver's license still says Gibson. Can you please run me my last name back? Soraya can keep that, our angel. Your trash ass birth name is Samantha Schwallenberg. Tyrese ranted as he reposted a clip from the interview. So obviously people have an issue with Tyrese saying that he wishes he was born Latino because Latino people just are better with everything, according to what he has to say about that. The question though is, what does Dogon SS have to say about Tyrese's comments?
I think he needs a new publicist. I think he needs I think he needs somebody to manage his social media. I
That's
think he
what it.
needs
Yeah,
I think he
yeah,
needs to go dark for a little bit. Um this guy just says all the wrong things. That's why you were midway through that, and I'm like, wow, he's still going on. Like, I get it. I get it. Like, this is his social media platform. So he's entitled and he felt obligated, after seeing that post, getting charged and all emotional and just hoping that his people, could just get it together. And I mean, I feel that. But I would say, bro, like halfway through him writing that, sometimes I be writing big ass comments to people, and then cooler heads prevail, and I go, this guy's just a troll. I don't really have to talk to this guy. His comment is just in the ethers. I don't need to respond to this or whatever, and then I just let it go because it's not worth the time. Tyrese is in a position, as far as being a celebrity, well-known person, public figure, that everybody's going to always be hanging on every word that he says. The thing is, what Tyrese is, he just says things. I don't really see anything wrong with what he said. I think it's something wrong with him making that public. And that's my thing, because people are going to do what they're doing with it now and backlashing him. Because that whole soliloquy that he gave, typos and all, that whole soliloquy that he gave, although it sounds good and makes sense, black people, you can't lead your essay with "I wish I was born Latino." to people, to the common person, the average Instagram follower, they're going to take that and get offended. You can't talk like that. And so this is where a publicist or somebody that manages your social media comes into play and goes, I think you should say it like this. Put this first. That way people know where you're coming from. And he's just talking. He's just shooting from the hip. And by him just doing that and saying what anybody would have said in a bar or whatever, it comes off as offensive to the layman. Me personally, I know exactly where he's coming from. Who wouldn't want that for our community? Who wouldn't want that for anybody's community? Because honestly, if all communities were taking care of themselves, in a respectful kind of way, and respecting everybody else, then, the world would be a lot better place. All right. But so who's against, black people uniting, within the black community? Who's against that? So, that what he said wasn't so damning. It was just how he said it and where he said it, zero context in writing, whoop de whoop. And then the whole mess with his, talking about his ex-wife. Now, I get it, man. Marriage, divorce, it ain't nothing pretty from what I hear, that crazy stuff. And it sounded like he was in himself a little crazy situation with a crazy woman. But again, this is not everybody's business. And so now it seems as though, because now we have a track record with this guy. He's a friend of the channel for a reason. He continues to put his foot in his mouth or just behave on instinct in front of a camera and then uploads it to Instagram. That whole thing where he was crying, I don't think we covered that. Maybe we did. But the whole episode where he was just crying and in front of the thing and everybody made a meme of him crying, all this other stuff, it just comes from him at the moment, whatever. So me personally, Tyrese, I don't feel like you said anything wrong. I just think you need to hire somebody to manage what your social media presence looks like, so you don't get yourself in so many of these situations. Because I don't know what this does on the back end when it comes to you, auditioning for new jobs, trying to get a new role, trying to get in a new position. It's too much, uh, fodder around your name. So me personally, your thoughts though on Mr. Gibson, sounding off, saying that he wish he was born Latino. How do you feel about
Yeah, I don't like that part. I think, yeah, I think that if he had just not that first sentence, I wish I was born Latino.
it? Crazy.
I on this channel, we've talked about some of these heavier subjects, and I've said that there are certain aspects of other communities that I envy, but
Mhm.
never once did I say I wish that I was a member of those communities, because that's a form of self-hate that's beyond the pale to me.
And-
um it's one thing to say that you can take cues from other communities to that you think would help make your community stronger. But to
mhm.
say sometimes you wish that you were, that's kind of weird to me.
It
I'm
is.
not really, I'm not really feeling that. Um, I don't think Tyrese has. Sometimes it seems like this guy doesn't have a management team. Period. Like
Period.
he kind of seems like he just manages himself. Like he must he must negotiate all of his movie contracts. This guy must be his own agent,
Yeah.
because it seems like he just does whatever he wants whenever he wants. And it seems like, I don't know if he goes to therapy, but he seems like someone who is in desperate need of it,
Mhm.
because he just has difficulty reconciling his feelings in terms of how certain aspects of his personal life end up. And because he has difficulty reconciling it, he ends up, putting it out for public consumption on social media. Not everything is for public consumption, bro.
Nah, dude.
Like, just because we are in the digital revolution and we're in the age of social media does not mean that people want to share in your pain. Like, no one wants to see you crying on the internet because you're devastated over how your marriage ended. Keep that shit private, you know, consult with the people closest to you and go to therapy. But, it's just, we live in a world now where any form of gratification is okay, positive or negative, so long as it's instant.
Mhm.
And nowadays you can do stuff like what he does, and because it's instant, it comes off as gratifying nonetheless, even though it doesn't look very good upon your name. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it's like, bro, just kind of calm down. But in terms of what he said, he's speaking from the prism of, like, you know, and I hate to go here, but I'm gonna go here because I have no other way to explain it in a way that would make sense. But to me, he's speaking from the prism of, like, the way the way melanated American culture of African descent is depicted from a popularized standpoint in this country, which is through arts and entertainment, largely the music. And largely in the music, the participants in those areas come from, they have beginnings that are rooted in a lot of the issues that Tyrese is frustrated over.
Mhm.
But the thing about it is, as one of those commenters said in that article, like, black people in America are much bigger than these various subgenres and these cultures. And it's why I rail on and on about how we look at the music and shows like Raising Canaan as culture instead of merely just entertainment. Because if we were able to separate the two and look at it as merely entertainment, we would do a better job of not allowing the entertainment industry to sell the population on the idea that these various forms of content is synonymous with our way of life as a community. And so Tyrese, clearly being someone who's in the entertainment industry, has bought into the idea that these forms of content is synonymous with our community, when really it's not. And I remember, like, I over the holidays, I was in Maryland for the Christmas holiday visiting family, right? So I was in Columbia, Maryland, which is a suburb of Baltimore, and we were out in they called it the country, even though it's not really the country like that.
Mhm.
But, big houses, every house is on several acres of land and all kind of stuff. And you know what I'm saying? I was hanging out with my family, and my uncle took me to a holiday party for a friend of his.
Noise.
And we go into the neighborhood. Every house is this huge house on like 4 or 5 acres of land.
Mhm.
Everybody's got an expensive car. Everybody's got all the amenities. You know what I'm saying? Houses that you'll see on these TV shows, whereas these real estate shows, huge, just crazy shit, bro.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? I'm driving through this stuff, like I don't really see this every day.
Mhm.
So we step into the house of my uncle's friend. Everybody in the house is black. Everybody in the house is black. Everybody is married. Everybody in the house is black. They're all married. They all have children. The children are married. They got grandkids, and then nobody's divorced like that. You know what I'm saying? The kids, 2, 3 generations in, everybody's got a spouse. Type family oriented community. All the things that are contrary to what Tyrese was describing.
Mhm.
Everybody in the house is black. And everybody in the house is a judge, an author. They are a congressperson. Some of them were a lawyer. So I met a couple of people who actually work in Congress. They're lobbyists, all at this party, getting down, getting drunk, tearing up the place, having a blast.
Mhm.
But these are well to do, family oriented, community oriented black folks. So clearly, if you extrapolate that to the general population, it makes comments like Tyrese's completely nonsensical. But he feels like he can say these things because he's living through the prism of what the entertainment industry puts forth content wise, which suggests this is what it likes to live as a black person in this country. Clearly, we are much bigger than this, but he's drinking this Kool-Aid. And so when you combine him drinking this Kool-Aid with the anguish that he experiences over his personal failures over and over again, they spill out as these kinds of comments that really do rub you the wrong way and put a bad taste in your mouth. It's like I agree completely with you. Like he needs somebody to just, hey, run this by. Hey, listen, we're gonna pay for Sprout Social. I want you to put all your social media posts in a draft that I can read first before you hit send on this stuff, because you're embarrassing yourself. And what's more is you're perpetuating a lot of the issues that community-oriented black people are everywhere are fighting against diligently. We get on this channel all the time talking about this stuff. Hey, listen, black people in America aren't all what you see in Power and BMF and the Family Business and some of these other shows. We ain't all of what you hear in these weird ass, dumbass rap songs. We are not universally represented by these goofy minstrel show ass rappers. But you'd never know if you are sort of caught up in the rapture of this entertainment stuff. And I think Tyrese is a sad, unfortunate case of an individual who's caught up in the rapture of this entertainment stuff. And it filters down to the general population. That's why I really like that comment that one person left when they were like, hey, listen, I wish Tyrese would go around the rest of the country so he can find all of the black people who are the antithesis of everything that he put in that post, because it's there. But obviously, if all you do is condition yourself to pay attention to the mind control, as you like to put so often, you would never know that. You would never know that. And he's an individual who's in position to not know that and to lend voice to the fact that that is all a facade and it's not real. And it's just sad to see that he is not doing that. But what's more sad is the fact that he's not doing it because he is just trying to figure out a way to deal with his personal tribulations. And it's just playing out publicly, and it otherwise looks very distasteful.
Well, I hear that because I think it's also I hear your point. There are people out here that are um defying what
Well,
Tyrese.
let me clarify real quick.
Hmm.
What he said has merit. So
Hmm.
yeah, there are a lot of issues and probably yeah. So there's a lot of issues and problems, and what he said indeed does have merit.
Hmm.
But as much merit as his comments have,
Hmm.
I also, and I'm speaking from personal experience, right? So this is my personal experience, because when you are around certain things, it kind of opens your eyes up to stuff. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, my trip in Maryland is informing me on my opinion on this.
Hmm.
And as as much merit as his comments may have, there's also something to be said about the fact that I think on a large enough scale, we don't do enough justice to the more positive elements.
That's fair.
So yeah, his comments do have merit for sure because there's a lot of problems, there's a lot of messed up stuff going around. But I also think that when you factor in mind control, the entertainment, the internet, the social media stuff, yeah, you're not going to see just how many of the people like what those people I've experienced being around in that house that that there are out there in the world. If that makes sense.
No, I get that. So now that makes sense. So I get that angle of it. So thanks for the clarification. So my part. So my thing is the part where he's looping in other communities because again I can't justify that I wish I was born. I can't I can't clean that up, bro. That's just crazy. So you just don't go around saying that. But as far as the aspect of him sounding like he would like the community to be better off, as a whole. So not so much in varying pockets, but just the majority. Now, I think the majority of black people is just chilling. You know,
Yeah.
I think the majority of black people are just chilling, but with the just chilling, there isn't, in my opinion, I don't think that same majority is working diligently day and night like other people. And so what I mean by that is he brought in the Jewish community, for instance, they all eat together on Friday night. That means something. That one thing means something. And what that does is, it's beyond networking. It's beyond a whole bunch of things, you know. And it's kind of one of those things of where, growing up in a house and, nobody eats dinner at the same time, nobody whatever, versus the family that eats dinner assigned the same time every night, whatever, whatever. I would argue that the family that does the dinner every night is a little bit more tightly knit than the other.
with with the TV off.
With the TV on.
TV
But
off.
hey, we used to have a TV on. Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy was on at the time, and so we had to watch it from afar. But yeah, man, stuff like that. And so, and it's good. It's good team building. One thing that I would say, personally speaking, that I also long for is more organization. And when, let's say, for instance, in South Florida, the organization of the Latino community, all right, the organization that they have down there, it took them what, 50, 30, 40 years or whatever, 40 years, 45, 50 to run Miami. Just run South Florida, run the school system, run this, then the police, they everywhere. It's to the point where now they're creeping up all the way up into the, political thing of the state. And it comes from, in my opinion, it comes from a unified front and an organized mind to control this area. And one thing that I've noticed that our community isn't doing is have an organized mind where there's a critical mass of people thinking and moving in the same direction. And those are the things that get done. And in mass. So that's the things that lobbying and all those other things, it should be doing that. That's why last week, I had such a gripe with the NAACP because that's what that function's supposed to be functioning as. But it only gives out ceremonious awards to P Valley. So if there was more of an intelligentsia within our community where we actually organized, then those types of things where we've, at least myself, talks about as far as lack of culture, lack of this, lack of values, lack of all these things that's centered, within our community, then that type of stuff would clean that up. But if we don't have an organized mindset and intelligentsia, 10 or 15% of people that are moving in one direction for the rest of the population, then we're going to continue to see our best and our brightest work for other people and their best and brightest and work for their better benefit and not the benefit for our own people. So I think that where he was more or less alluding to, as far as I'm concerned, was more of an organized mindset that our people need to have. Now, wishing you were born in another group of people because that group of people are using that mindset versus yours, that's the part where I was like, whatever. But I would just say hunker down, and instead of making a post, be about that, because he's actually in a position of power that the average African American melanated person doesn't have. And so he has a position to where he can actually galvanize, fund, whatever. So I would just say, Tyrese, instead of wishing to be a part of another community, use that power that you've been, you earned, to help turn the key in the right direction. But I hear your point. Uh, not every black person's on the struggle bus when it comes to that type of stuff. But I feel as though if there was more of an organized mindset, then that would trickle down into more of a solid culture, which in turn would change behavior and all these other things. But yeah, other groups of people have it. They just call them lobby groups, and I would say that we really don't. So, but yeah, that's my take on this situation, man. I just really wish he said it differently, but I feel like his heart was in the right place. He just needs to learn how to talk in public.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hear that. I used to be. If you would have talked to me like 6 months ago, I would have been lock and step with you.
Mm.
But you know, I've experienced that organized mind,
Oh,
and
okay.
I've seen firsthand that it is there.
Where is
I just
that?
don't think that I just don't think it's promoted very well because I just think that we have allowed our way of life to be co-opted with the entertainment industry. I truly, honestly do believe that, and so I think that it has made future generations susceptible to being mind numbed by entertainment, as opposed to continuing the tradition of being of that sound mind and body. But I've seen it. Like, I never personally met a judge that was black before 2 months ago, and seeing all of these things, and then sitting down at tables and talking to these people about some of the things that they're doing in their respective communities. It kind of showed me that it's easy enough to sort of sit in a particular environmental bubble and believe that it's going one way until you venture out into other areas, other parts of the country, go to other neighborhoods, go to other parts, other regions, like being up there in the DMV. It kind of exposes you to some of that type of stuff that you see down here, with the example that you brought up with the Latino community. A lot of that stuff similarly is taking place just in other regions. And I'm willing to concede that we'd be better if more of it was happening in more regions, for sure. So I'm never going to disagree with the general point that there
Hmm.
needs to be a greater abundance of it. But what I will disagree with is that, number one, it isn't happening. And that, number two, if it is happening, it's happening at a very, very low rate. I just think not a lot of it gets talked about, because when it comes to mainstream news, and
Hmm.
when it comes to some of these various things that we talk about, when it comes to the political seasons and whatnot, we let other people take center stage because we care too much about, black people getting awards for Grammys, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes here. Or, we caring about all of that stuff. We're so busy fighting for our piece of the pie and our recognition in movies and music and all of this kind of stuff, that we haven't gotten to the point where we have shifted our attention to some of the stuff that actually matters more. Even some of us who are in, like, how I feel about getting more black people into STEM applications, because
Hmm.
I think that that's the future of generational wealth, is technology. And you would, traveled around. I was in DC and Maryland, and that's just one part of the DMV, let alone the rest other regions of the country. And there's all kinds of people who look like us, who are in STEM applications, trying to develop apps, learning IT, building power grids, all kind of stuff. It's just we don't give that kind of stuff the recognition it deserves. So what I think we as a community do a really shitty job of is recognizing the contributions that we are making in other aspects of human existence, not just sports and athletics and entertainment and music. That's what I think we do a real shitty job at. We do a horrible job of that. We do not promote academia and our participation in that. We don't promote technology and our participation in that. We don't promote any of these other areas. I mean, I know we have our cynical ways that we look at politics, and you mentioned lobbying. There's organizations and groups led by with majority black participation trying to make moves and do things in the street. We just do a shitty job in the mainstream of promoting these things so that we can provide alternative examples instead of this merely homogenized idea of what black people is, which is jiving and rapping on microphones and dunking basketballs and running on football fields. That's really how I feel about that, honestly. Maybe that's a bit galaxy brain, but that's kind of how I look at it. And when it comes to Tyrese, I really do think that he does not know how to deal with his personal problems in an effective, constructive way. And so you mentioned connecting dots with squiggly lines last week. I feel like because I think that it's his personal turmoil that fueled him talking like this, because he feels as though he was dealing with a situation in a marriage and a woman who wasn't real to him. And so that's the emotion that brought on him feeling some type of way about community and men being the heads of households and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of that other stuff that he talked about in that post. So it's like he needs to find a more constructive way to reconcile his feelings. Like he needs to get into therapy, because when he posts like that, especially saying he wishes he was born in another community, to me it kind of highlights the way that we overall just do a really shitty job of talking about some of this other stuff. I just think we need to do a better job of that. That's not to say that we're there or that we don't have a long way to go. We surely do. But I think in the collective consciousness of like the mainstream masses, we are still at a point where when we want to talk about any black person's contribution to anything, it's going to be somebody who was acting in movies, rapping in music, singing, dancing, being an R&B star, or who was an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, whenever I be looking for topics, that's all that be popping up. I was looking up stuff for, other things, cool science stuff. It be regular. But then there's this mindset of, well, damn, how many views is that? So check me out. I'm glad you brought that up. So it's just one of those things of where, and we cover the celebrities, the rappers, the ball players and stuff here. I'll speak for myself. It's to center these kinds of things in a way where it's not just about dribbling a basketball. It's not just about singing or rapping or whatever. It's deeper than that. And it kind of ties into trying to construct values and sets for people to look at these things, because you're going to look
That's
at them
exa-
anyway.
that's exactly what it is. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's more or less how we approaching these types of situations, because that's what everybody's talking about. But I agree with you 100%, man. It's just not enough publicity, if you will, towards, the things that are being done and accomplished and all that good jazz. But again, that's that's a cultural mindset. I'll say one more last thing. There's people in communities that they 100% know that everything that comes from the TV, the radio, is 100% garbage. There's communities that live like that and know that. And they also laugh at the people who believe it. And so my whole thing is, if we get to a space to where we really, like all that stuff you said, to where we really look at this stuff as, oh, this is all trash. This is all, you're not supposed to be buying this. No, you're not. You'll be walking around looking like you seen Bay in a few minutes if you keep buying this garbage. You trying to have that happen? So so that's why I also mock this stuff a lot. And when something's coming up here and there's a topic or whatever, I'm roasting most of the time, because it is a spectacle. And honestly, it is funny. So yeah, Tyrese, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what you're saying, JB Wins. I mean, we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
I think what I'll do from this conversation is broaden my horizons a little bit. And if there is an intelligentsia out there floating around, way out loud, bro, I'm about to say, hey, email me, man. Send me an at the Dogon SS, man. I'm a networker. I know what's
it's
going
it's
on.
it's out there, man. Like I'm just saying, like you know me, I'm big on data, facts, statistics. I'm a real big empirical data guy.
Mm-hmm,
And then I'm extremely right brain. So I think highly analytical. That's kind of how I process information. And
mm-hmm,
my thing with this is if I can go to this one random holiday party on Christmas Eve in Maryland, I
mm-hmm.
can just extrapolate that to how much more of that is actually in existence. But um, in terms of the way that we market ourselves and our endeavors, it needs a tremendous amount of work. There's people in there. There's a woman in there who's on like her fourth book. She's like a published acclaimed author. She's written like 4 books, all of them on self help, constructivism, all that kind of stuff. People obviously know about her. I just didn't know about her. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, this is a woman who's like she's contributing to society in a way that is highly productive and constructive. On like her 4th book, an author, a black woman.
Damn,
And it's like I think that there's more of that to go around than we know, is my whole point.
for sure.
Um, and I would only be saying that, I would not be saying that rather had I not, we are an amalgamation of our experiences.
Mm-hmm,
And I think that part of the journey of life is you grow and you experience different things. And so I don't besmirch a person who thinks a certain kind of way. What I do look at with a side eye is someone who has experienced different, therefore knows better, and you still parrot the same speech. And so that's an issue that we need to confront and deal with as well. But overall, there's champions out there doing some real dope, cool ass shit. There's a kid in my gym that I go to. He's like in his mid 20s, I think. He quit a high paying job working for Apple because philosophically he didn't align with the company. But he's an IT kid, knows his stuff, and he's in the process of getting a couple more certifications so that he can keep doing his thing. That kind of shit just needs to be talked about more. Instead of just always wanting to celebrate these goofy ass rappers and these basketball and football players. If I felt as though we were at that point in the world, and if we had a few more thousand subs, we would definitely be broadening the range of topics that we talk about on this channel for sure.
Come on, hey man, y'all heard that? Hit the like and
Yeah.
subscribe. Y'all gotta help fund this operation for free. Just click subscribe, man.
Yeah, man. And shouts out to Tyrese, bro. Get you a therapist, bro.
Jeez, bro. And
I
get a
don't think he has
publicist.
a therapist. I don't think he has a therapist. I can't believe he has if he had a therapist, he wouldn't be doing these things. He wouldn't have these social media outbursts. Bro,
Hey,
get a therapist, bro. And if
yeah,
you do have one, you need to fire him and get a better one because they're supposed to coach you out of doing shit like that.
and if you have a publicist, get a new publicist. Unbelievable.
Oh, good stuff.